Hello and welcome back. I'm Stickmasterluke and we're working on the Mad Bloxxer game. So in the last videos I've shown you how to start designing a game and how to make the tools for the game. This video is going to be getting into, or this section of the tutorials is going to be getting into the actual meaty good stuff, the actual gameplay, the scripting. So let's start. Before we actually get started, we had made the sword last time and the net gun. I just want to make a few small changes that I've noticed to the sword. One is actually a little bit important, but we should make these changes because after doing some testing, I realized that these are some issues. So, first thing you want to do is add this line right here. I forgot to type this line out, and it causes an error every once in a while if you don't have this line. So you want to make sure you define this table. So what's happening is this table gets defined, but sometimes too late if you hit something before you swing the sword. So just define the table, just put in this code right here. And then also I changed the combo damage a little bit because it didn't make full sense yet. So this part of the combo should look like that. This part should look like this. I think that's how they were. But up here in the target humanoid, take damage, you might want to change it to combo +1. Because what was happening is the first hit was considered combo 0, so it was multiplying that by the damage. So what's happening is when you do your first swing, it was doing no damage. So we just want to add 1 to the combo right here. And I think that's it. Okay, so now to actually coding the game. Now we have that over with. So we should have a local script in a screen GUI and a main script. So in the main script, I've taken the time to just write up a quick plan of what we're going to be doing, everything in here. So we're going to have it's called, sometimes the main script can be called the main loop, or the main game script. But if it's called the main loop, this is why. It's because there's literally a loop, while true do loop. You actually want to make sure there's a wait in here, otherwise it'll cause an error or a crash. But so the first thing, I mean, this is the order that the code's going to be in, but yeah, let's just go in the order that the code's going to be in. So we're going to make a leaderboard so that you can see player stats. It's normally up here in the upper right, and then we're going to make we're going to keep track of points, actually, not wipeouts. And then we're also, in the same code, going to make the sheriff drop their net gun if they get blocked, so that the game can continue, so that like one of the bystanders can pick up the net gun and net the Bloxxer. And then also we want to make sure the sheriff doesn't net everybody. So if they net someone that's not the Bloxxer, the sheriff itself will get blocked. So the sheriff can't just net everybody. Okay, and then part of the main game loop, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to load a random map. We only have one map, but it's still going to work, so you can add more maps if you want. We're going to wait to make sure there's enough players. We're going to choose from the contestants. We're going to choose a Bloxxer. We're going to choose a sheriff. And then we're going to teleport the players into the map. And then the game will wait, do another kind of loop in here, and wait for the round to end. And those conditions are either there is no Bloxxer anymore, or there's only one player left. If there's only one player left, that means it's either the Bloxxer and he's blocks everybody, or there's no Bloxxer, which means it already fulfills this condition. And then another condition to make the game end would be a timer expires. And then after the game loop recognizes that the game's over, it wants to sort the results, display the results, and the results will be the Bloxxer failed, the Bloxxer is successful. So this is like the timer ran out. This is the Bloxxer blocks everybody, so he wins. And this is the Bloxxer is captured, so if the sheriff nets the Bloxxer. And then after that, after we sort the results, we're going to want to teleport the players back to the lobby, any players that are left. And then we're going to want to make sure we remove everyone's tools, so they're not fighting it out in the lobby as well. And then we have a short intermission, a wait, kind of a break between the next round. So let's get started. Okay, so at the top of the script, we're going to want to define a few things, quite a few things to be honest. We're going to need a round timer. So we just want to know at the top of the script, we're going to define how long we want the rounds to be. So round time equals 60 times 5. So 60 is a minute times 5. So this is just shorthand for saying 5 minutes. If you really wanted, you could say 300 right here, but this is easier. So if you ever want to change it to 7 minutes, you just come over here and go like that. Or if you want to change it to 3, you go like that. And you already know that's in minutes. Instead of trying to figure out what 3 times 60 is, you just leave it like this. Okay, and then another thing we want to know is how long the intermission time should be. So intermission time equals, I think, 20 seconds. Nice short intermissions. Keep people interested in the game. Keep the action flowing. Okay, and then we're going to want to look for the important things that we're going to be using in this script. So one of those is going to be server storage. So we wait for the service. Oh, whoops, what did I do? Server storage equals game. We're not going to want to do wait for child. We're going to want to do get service actually. Okay, server storage server storage equals game get service server storage. We're going to want to also get replicated storage. Yep. We're also going to want debris service. We're also going to want the remote event in the replicated storage. We're also going to need the maps. So can't recall because I made a few little changes since the last video, but hopefully the map is inside a model called maps, and we're going to want to know this maps in server storage. So maps equals server storage maps. And just in case you don't know, the reason that maybe you don't know the difference between replicated storage and server storage. So let me quickly explain that. So you got to think about when a game is made. If you go to join any game on Roblox, you hit play. It will start a new server, or you'll join an existing one. And if you start a new server, that means you're the first player in there. And what happens is the game is actually being ran on a computer far away, like somewhere else. And all these scripts that don't say local in them, that means that these scripts are being ran by the server. And the server is also doing a lot of the physics. But the server does a lot of stuff. And so server storage, right here, server storage, means that only the server and code running on the server knows what's in server storage. But replicated storage means that players, local scripts that are running on players' clients, can see what's in replicated storage, and so can servers. So this is a common ground where both server and players can look at what's being stored. But server storage, players don't know this stuff exists. If you go to the game and you look at the raw data, you don't ever see any of this if you're a player. But the server has access to this stuff. So that's why we don't need to share the maps that are in storage with the players, because there's no reason for them to know what they are until we put it in workspace. And when you put it in workspace, it automatically gets replicated to the client. Okay, so that's replicated storage and server storage. So let's get back to what we're doing. Define the maps. We're also going to want map holder. So local map holder equals game.workspace dot. Wait. Wait for child. Map holder. Okay, so map holder. This I think I have not done. So this was our map. You want to put it inside a model in workspace called map holder. So to do that, it's really simple. You just insert object, find model, and then drag your map into the model, and then rename the model to map holder. That's what I've done. So whenever we make a new map, we throw it into map holder, and it makes it easier for cleaning up the map because we just remove all the children of map holder. Okay, so map holder is that. We're also going to want we can add the rest later as we come across it. Okay, so loading a random map. This is pretty easy. Okay, so to start, we're going to want to remove all the children of map holder. So we got to remove the current map if there is one. So to do that, we do map holder. And there's a function on most things in Roblox called clear all children. We just call that, and it removes everything under map holder. So that means that we'd remove any maps that are in here. Okay, and then we are going to want to just wait, because that's a lot of computation for the server to do. So we're just going to wait too. And then we're going to want to get a list. We're going to want to get a table of all of the current maps. So not current maps, I mean like the maps that it can load, so we can choose one. So to get a list, we're going to go maps, because maps is what's in server storage, and if you ever make a new map, you just throw it inside of maps. So maps will have, if you want to make a new map, you just copy and paste it into there and just name it something different, just so you know the difference. But you only need one for now. You only need one to work. And okay, so maps, and we're going to do get children. So get children creates a list of all the children. So that's like one of these, a table. But let's define this as a variable so we know what we're talking about. Local all maps equals. Okay, now we're going to want to choose one of the random maps from here. So we do local new map equals all maps. See, when you use brackets like this, the square brackets, that means you're selecting using an index, something from a list. And so right now when you do get children, they're listed from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're listed numerically from 1. So when we just need to say if we were to say map 1, it'd be the first one in here, which is just map 1. If we had 2 maps, it'd be the second map. If you put number 2 here. So we're just going to want to make a random number between 1 and the total number of maps that there are to choose from. So we do math.random, and then it's a function, so you use 2 parentheses. And then the first parameter is where the number you start at, and the second number is the number that it ends at. So we'll choose a random number between the first and second number that you put in here. So a number from 1 to number all maps. When you use a hashtag like this, hashtag in front of a variable, or hashtag in front of a table, just returns the number of items in that table. So all maps is a list. It's a table, a list. List table, same thing. So you're getting the number of children, the number of maps, and this chooses a random number from 1 to the number of the maps, and then it uses that as an index to figure out which map to choose. So new map is equal to a map, a random map that is in your maps folder. Okay, and then we just want to put this new map into workspace. So we set parent to game.workspace. Okay, and then wait to, just because again it's doing a lot of moving of information. So let's wait to, just to be safe. And that is how you load a random map. Clear out the current one and load a new one. And now we're going to do waiting for contestants. So we're going to want to, if you join the game, you don't want to start. First of all, we need at least 3 players for this game to work. You need at least 1 bystander. Well, you need at least 1 Bloxxer. You need 1 sheriff. And they could play it out to play, but the game mechanics break at that point, because if there's only 2 players and you're the Bloxxer, then you know that the other guy's a sheriff. And if you're the sheriff, you know that the other guy's a Bloxxer. So you need at least 3 players, so if there's 1 bystander, so you don't know who's who. So you want to wait for 3 contestants, 3 players to join the game before starting a match. While true, do end. Be really careful when making empty loops like this, because if there's no wait in here, this will actually crash your game. So you want to put a wait in here like immediately whenever you make a loop. And I'm just going to put a 5 actually. So it's going to wait 5 seconds. It's going to keep doing this. Okay. Contestants equals. Okay, so we're making a table that we're going to store all our valid contestants in. We only want people that are in-game and have a character. So for underscore, comma v, actually comma player, in pairs, we're going to want to cycle through all of the current players and make sure that they have characters. So we're using the get players function off of players, and that returns a table of all the players. And we're going to iterate through all of them. And if player, just want to make sure that this exists. And player.character, then. So if the player and the player has a character, we're going to look for humanoid in the character. Humanoid. Oh, I typed it a little bit wrong. There we go. If humanoid and humanoid.health is greater than 0, then. So we want to make sure they have a character, and this character has a humanoid, and this humanoid is alive. And then we're just going to put them into this table of contestants. So to do that, you just do table.insert contestants player. So when using table.insert, this is a function of Lua. The first thing is the table you're inserting into, and the second thing is the item that you're putting into the table. So we're putting the player into the list of contestants. And then also in this loop, so there, that's looping through all the current players and seeing if they have a character, and if they do, we're going to put them in contestants. And then after we do that, we're going to want to see if there's enough players to start. So if number contestants is greater than or equal to 3, then we can start. If not, then I don't know. I'm just putting an else there in case you want it later. But if we have enough contestants, so if the number of contestants is greater than or equal to 3, then we're going to want to break. Break breaks us out of this while true do. Breaks us out of the first loop, which is this one. Okay, so that is how you do that. Another thing we're going to want to do, actually that's good enough for now. Yep, that's good. Okay, so now we're going to want to choose a Bloxxer. This is actually really easy. We've already chose a random map before, so it's pretty much the same thing. Bloxxer equals, we have a list of contestants. So contestants, square brackets, because we're going to choose one of them with an index. Math.random 1, comma, number contestants. So again, we choose a random number between 1 and the total number of contestants, and we use that number as an index to choose a contestant. And that just chooses a random one. And then it's a little bit more complicated when we want to choose a sheriff. Because here we can just choose any player. But here we got to make sure that when we choose a sheriff, that the sheriff is not the Bloxxer. And if it is the Bloxxer, then we got to keep choosing until we find one of the contestants that isn't the Bloxxer. So to do that, we're just going to make a loop. While true do random player equals, and this is the same thing as up here, so I'm just going to copy this. A random contestant if random player doesn't equal Bloxxer, then sheriff equals random player break end. Okay, so this loop will keep going until we tell it to stop. And you notice that I didn't use any wait because it should happen immediately. It should keep doing this all in the same cycle. So what it does is it keeps doing this until it finds a sheriff. So it chooses a random player, and it makes sure this random player isn't the Bloxxer. And if it isn't the Bloxxer, then yay, we found a sheriff. So we set the sheriff to this random player, and then we break this loop so we can get out. Okay, so now we've broken free, and we've got a sheriff and a Bloxxer. Now we're going to want to teleport our contestants. Ooh, teleporting our contestants. So if you notice, how do we teleport our contestants? We don't have any spawn locations. We haven't made any yet. So we should have done that in one of the earlier videos when we were designing the map. We're going to do it right now. It's very quick and easy. I have a part in server storage that I've been using to build with, so I'm just going to copy that. But you're just going to want to make sure that you have a part that is anchored. Let's see, what do we have this part for? Symmetric, anchored. It doesn't matter about symmetric actually. You just want to make sure that it's anchored. So this is going to be our spawn location, so let's call it that. We're going to call it spawn. And to make it a little bit distinguishable from everything around it, we're going to paint it a bright color. Make it transparent just in case we need to see through it when we're placing them. I'm going to make these 6x6. And these are going to get removed. So we're just going to use these when placing people on the map. So it doesn't matter what they look like. But I'm going to make it can't collide false. Just because it doesn't matter too much actually. Okay, so I'm just going to start placing these spawn locations around in nice open rooms. If I select the normal tool. So I'm just using control copy, control paste, control C, control V. There, I just copied and pasted a bunch of them. I'm just going to place these around. Copying a bunch more and placing these. It's okay to have people spawning next to each other. It's makes it kind of interesting. So you're gonna for sure want more spawns than there are players in the game. I think we're considering 10-player game, so this looks definitely more than 10, so we should be safe there. But if you're making a new map, you're gonna want to make sure that you know, there are more spawns than players in the game. Otherwise, depending on how we code this, it might not work too well. Alright, this looks pretty good. We've placed a bunch of spawns all over the map, but now we gotta incorporate these into the map. So I select the first one, and I can hold shift and click each one, or I can hold control and click each one. But it's easier if you hold shift and select at the bottom, and it selects everything from your top selection to your bottom selection. Then I'm going to do control G to group them. I'm going to call this spawns. And in every map that you make, you're going to want to put a model that's called spawns into the map. So I just cut and pasted it into our map. Okay, you know what? While we're at it, let's also make an invisible ceiling, because our game doesn't have a ceiling right now. So I'm going to copy one of these spawns, paste it in a workspace real quick. This is going to be just an invisible ceiling. Just so players can't, you know, kind of get out of our map since we don't have an actual ceiling. I think it's kind of nice being able to look into it from the top. And so we're going to change the color of this after we place it, just so we can see it while we're putting it down. Alright, that's covering the ceiling. Oh, because this is an invisible wall, we're gonna want to turn on collision. So I turn that back on. Alright, so looks like it's covering everything. Yep, okay. So that's our invisible wall ceiling thing. Make sure players don't get out of our map that we've made. I'm going to turn the transparency all the way up to 1 so you can completely see through it. I'm going to cut that and paste it into our map again, because that's part of our map. Okay, so what we were doing is we were creating spawns, because we're going to be coding that. So we've done that. We're going to want to make sure that the map inside server storage is updated. So I'm going to copy this one that we just worked on in workspace. I'm going to delete the one in server storage and paste it directly back in there. So this one's the same as the one that we just worked on. Okay, so now we have spawn locations, we can start teleporting our contestants into the map, because now that they have places to spawn. So local spawns equals new map, wait for child spawns. So make sure that you do have a model called spawns in your map, and then we're going to get children. So everything inside of this model is going to be a spawn location, which it should be. So it doesn't matter what you name these, but these are going to be all of our spawn locations. Now that we've done that, we've got the spawns. We're going to want to go through all of our contestants and actually start teleporting them. So let's see. For underscore comma player in pairs contestants do. Oh, what did I do? Oh, I just forgot an end. Okay. So again, this is a loop iterating through all of the contestants that we have. We're going to want to make sure that player somehow didn't disappear on us, and that the player.character also didn't somehow disappear on us. Just by calling it, it checks to make sure it exists. If it's nil, then nil meaning it doesn't exist, then this will fail, which is good. That's what we want. See, we're checking to make sure that these exist. And we're going to want to make sure that the number of spawns is greater than 0. Then. So torso equals player.character, wait for child, torso, what else are we going to want? We're going to choose a random spawn to teleport them to, so this is pretty easy. We're going to choose a random spawn index. Actually, we're just going to do local spawn. Now we're going to need to keep track of the index. So spawn index equals math.random 1 comma number spawns. So it's just like when we were choosing a random map or a random Bloxxer. We're just choosing a random number. So spawn index is a number between 1 and the number of spawns that we have left, because we're going to remove them as we teleport players to them. Okay, so if actually let's also define the spawn while here. Spawn equals spawns spawn index. If the spawn exists and the torso exists, then okay. Table.remove spawns. Okay, so now that we know which spawn we're teleporting to, we're going to be teleporting the player to, we're going to remove it from the list of spawns, and that's what we do right here. so that other players don't teleport to the same location. Okay, and then torso, this is how you teleport players, is by setting their C-frame. You could also set their position, but their C-frame is safer, because if you set a position of something, it puts it on top. And also, setting a position is only for like single parts, because we want to teleport a model of a character. The torso is the root part, so if you teleport the torso, everything that's attached to it will also follow it, if you're setting C-frame. So we're going to set it to a new C-frame, and this new C-frame is going to be cframe.new, and we're going to put in a position. That position is a spawn that we had chosen, its position, plus vector3.new 0, 3, 0. So you're asking me what I'm doing here. This is the position of the spawn, and so position is just like a vector3. It's just three digits, and that's how we're gonna tell the C-frame where it is. Just the position, and then you want to add 3 because the torso is actually 3 studs off of the floor, and we don't want them spawning in the floor, so we're spawning them 3 studs off the floor so they are standing where they should when we teleport them. Okay, so that makes sure that teleports them. That's done. And after this, we're going to also want to give them their tools. Yeah, we want to give them their tools as we teleport them. Okay, so let's make sure that they have a backpack. Let's make sure that they have a backpack. You can always assume that a player has a backpack, but I always check for a lot of these basic things, just in case. Just after my years of game design and here on Roblox, I've noticed that there are random glitches and bugs that will break your game if you don't check. So I've just gotten in the habit of checking a lot of random things, and a lot of them will probably never break your game if you don't check for them, but I check for them anyways. So if backpack, then so we want to make sure that what we're putting the tools into exists. Okay, so after we make sure that they have a backpack, we only want to give the tools to the Bloxxer and the Sheriff. So let's do the Bloxxer first. If player is equal to the Bloxxer. So the Bloxxer is just a player, and our current player, if our current player is the Bloxxer, is equal to the Bloxxer, then local sword equals storage wait for child sword, and it's going to be a clone of that one. So there's a function on almost every object in Roblox called clone, and so we're saying this is the sword that we're going to be using, and now we're grabbing the clone of it, so we're not using this one, because if we gave the first sword to this player, we wouldn't have another sword to clone again later. So or to give the next the next round. So we're gonna make a clone of that one, and that's what sword we're gonna be using, and we're gonna give them the cloned one. So sword.parent is equal to the backpack. Actually, not end. We're going to want to put else. Else if the player is a sheriff, then local net gun is equal to server storage. Oops, not clone. Net gun. Oh, now we need the clone. Clone. So we're cloning the net gun, and we're gonna put it in their backpack just like the sword. So net gun dot parent is equal to backpack, which is the player's backpack. Okay, end. And then after we've teleported all of the players, we're gonna want to remove the spawns. So remember how we use the spawns to tell where we're teleporting the players to. We're going to want to remove the spawns, so we just, yeah. Okay, so local spawns model. I'm going to cut this, paste it there, just so that we make sure that we're looking at the same thing here. This spawns model, copying this, using it down here, remove. So we just get rid of all the spawns after we teleport the players, so they don't see those yellow squares. Like, this isn't actually part of the map, so we're going to be removing all these spawn locations so that people don't see them after we've used them. If we try removing it before, then we won't know where to place the players. Okay, and that's how you teleport the players onto the map. Next, we're going to be looking at the conditions, and that's it for this video. Be sure to check out the next one. See you guys in a minute.